Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka on Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining me. Brothers and sisters, in a previous segment, we spoke about the role of anger management in the prevention of domestic violence. And we cited the hadith in which a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, awsini. He said, O Messenger of Allah, advise me. To which the Prophet ﷺ replied, La taghdab. The literal meaning of the Prophet's words in the Arabic is, do not be angered. But as any one of us who's ever been angry knows, anger is instinctive. An emotion, a feeling that occurs within a person automatically when circumstances that trigger it exist. When an anger-evoking event occurs, we get angry instinctively. We can't help it. It happens automatically. It is for this reason that the hadith commentators have said that the literal meaning of the hadith is not what the Prophet ﷺ intended. The Prophet is not telling us that when someone or something incites our anger that we have to somehow attain a state of no emotion, no feeling. We have to actually feel nothing. Somebody's doing something, saying something. Something has occurred which naturally incites your anger, and you're supposed to what? To feel nothing, to make yourself reach a state where you are numb. Because that would be, the Prophet is not saying that because that would be impossible or nearly impossible. Rather, the Prophet is telling us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we shouldn't act upon our anger, that we must control ourselves when angry, that when we're angry we shouldn't say or do what our anger is telling us to. This interpretation is supported by another tradition in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Laysa shadidu bis-sur'ah, innama shadidu man yamliku nafsahu 'inda al-ghadab." He said, the strong man is not the one who out-wrestles his opponent and pins him to the mat. Rather, the strong man is the one who controls himself when he's angry. In the previous segment, when we talked about anger and its role in domestic violence, we encouraged people stuck at home due to COVID-19 stay-at-home orders to control their anger and to refrain from taking their frustrations out on others in the home. But unfortunately, we failed to mention any practical measures and means to achieve anger management. So in today's segment, we would like to share some of those practical ways to suppress, to control our anger. The first one is, when you feel angry, to immediately seek refuge in Allah from Satan. Because whenever you're angry, oftentimes you will hear a voice telling you to do things and to say things, and that voice is none other than the voice of Satan. Satan is there kindling the fire of anger and encouraging to do things which you will later regret. And so the best way to defeat him and to defeat your anger is to seek refuge from Satan. وَيَدُلِّ ذَلك, and this is evidenced by the hadith collected by Al-Bukhari and Muslim on the authority of Sulaiman ibn Sard. And he narrates, he says, كنت جالسا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ورجلان يستبان فأحدهما احمر وجهه وانتفخت أوداجه فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إني لأعلم كلمة لو قالها لذهب عنه ما يجد لو قال أعوذ بالله من الشيطان لذهب. He said in this hadith, Sulaiman ibn Sard, I was sitting with the Prophet ﷺ while two men were exchanging insults in his presence. The face of one of them turned red, and veins in his neck were protruding. Whereupon the Prophet ﷺ, he said, indeed, I know an expression, that if he only said it, his anger would subside, if only he said, I seek refuge in Allah from the devil, his anger would subside. Another method to control anger or to treat anger is changing your physical position. If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting, lie down. And if you still feel angry after all that, then leave the place where the anger inciting incident has occurred, or the person who is inciting your anger, leave their presence. And this is evidenced by the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ فَلْيَجْلِسْ فَإِنْ ذَهَبَ عَنْهُ الْغَضَبُ وَإِلَّا فَلْيَضْطَجِعْ. He said, if one of you becomes angry whilst he is, then let him sit down. This should cause his anger to subside. And if not, then let him lie down until his anger subsides. And this is one of the big mistakes that we make, is that when we are angry, we stay in the place or in the presence of the one who has made us angry. And that makes us more angry, and we end up acting on our anger and doing the exact opposite of what we're supposed to do. And so one of the best methods is to change your physical position and get out of that place, or get out of the position where you might potentially act on your anger. Another method for repressing anger, controlling it, a treatment for anger, that is that you should remain silent when you are angry. And Ibn Rajab, Al-Hafidh Ibn Rajab, he explains the wisdom behind this treatment. He says, this is also a very good treatment for anger, because the one who is angry says things during his rage which he deeply regrets once his anger subsides. He may curse, insult, or say things which are extremely harmful and whose consequences are very severe. But if he remains quiet, then he will avoid all of these evil effects of anger. And this is important for another reason, and that is that if you say something, not only will you perhaps say something that you will regret, but you may incite anger in the person to whom you say. Then things will escalate and get well out of hand, potentially. And so this is another reason why remaining silent is one of the best remedies for anger. Finally, one of the final remedies mentioned by the scholars of Islam for treating anger is performing wudu, or taking a complete bath, performing ablution, or taking a complete bath, a shower. There are some unauthentic hadith which encourage this as a means to extinguish the fire of rage, the fire of anger. And although the scholars do not accredit those hadith, they do acknowledge the practical benefit of this practice. They explain, rahimahumullah ta'ala, that when a person is angry, his or her heart rate will increase, their blood pressure will also increase, and washing the entire body or parts of it will lower the heart rate and reduce blood pressure. It is because of the practical benefit of what we could refer to as hydrotherapy that scholars have traditionally prescribed it for anger, and none of them has disapproved or denied its usefulness. Among the scholars who have specifically recommended this hydrotherapy, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala in his book Al-Wabil As-Sayyib, and also his teacher Ibn Taymiyyah in a number of his works. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أن ينفعنا بما أن يعلمنا ما ينفعنا وأن ينفعنا بما علمنا. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us what is beneficial and to benefit us with what He has taught us. We ask Him to make us from those who control their anger. Use these methods and other means to control their anger and not to act on their anger. And we ask Him to make us from those with whom He is well pleased, and those who will be entitled to His paradise, His maghfirah, His forgiveness and pardon on the day of resurrection. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.